The silent witness of Willow Creek. The small town of Willow Creek was usually a quiet place. Folks left their doors unlocked and knew everyone's name, but that changed the day Sarah went missing. She was just a young woman fresh out of school working at a local diner. One moment she was serving coffee, the next she was gone. No note, no struggle, just gone. Chief Miller was a good man, tired around the eyes but sharp. He'd seen his share of trouble, but never anything like this. The diner was a dead end. No one saw anything strange. No one heard a thing. It was like Sarah had simply vanished into thin air. The only real clue was a silver locket found near the back door of the diner. It wasn't Sarah's. It was old, tarnished, with a tiny detailed carving of a willow tree on it. Miller showed it to everyone, but no one knew who it belonged to. It was the only silent witness to Sarah's disappearance. Days turned into weeks. The town buzzed with whispers. People started looking at each other differently. Neighbors who had known each other for years now felt a chill in the air. Fear was a new, unwelcome guest in Willow Creek. One afternoon, a young boy named Tom, who loved exploring the woods around town, found something strange. Hidden under a pile of old leaves near the winding Willow Creek itself was a small, dusty notebook. It looked like a diary. Tom, being a curious kid, took it straight to Chief Miller. The diary belonged to an old woman named Martha. She was a recluse, a quiet soul who lived deep in the woods, rarely seen. Her entries were old, dating back years, but one part caught Chief Miller's eye. It talked about a silver locket given to her by her deceased husband, a locket with a willow tree on it, and then a more recent entry just days before Sarah disappeared. He came today, the man with the empty eyes. He asked about the creek, about the old ways. Said he was looking for something. He seemed wrong. I hid the locket. It holds the key to the creek's secrets. Chief Miller's heart beat faster. Martha had died of natural causes a month ago. But who was the man with the empty eyes, and what secrets did the creek hold? He gathered his deputies. We are going to Martha's cabin, he said, his voice low. And then we are searching Willow Creek. Martha's cabin was tiny, surrounded by tall, old trees. Inside, it was neat, almost untouched. But under a loose floorboard in the bedroom, Miller found a small wooden box. Inside was a collection of strange items, dried herbs, small carved animal bones, and a faded hand drawn map. The map showed Willow Creek, but also marked odd spots along its winding path with strange symbols. One symbol, a circle with a jagged line through it, was marked right where Tom had found a diary. Following the map, Miller and his team traced the path along the creek. The air grew colder even though the sun was still bright. The trees grew thicker, their branches forming a dark ceiling above them. The symbols from the map were carved into some of the older trees, almost hidden by moss and vines. As they went deeper, a strange, sweet smell filled the air, like old dirt and something else, something that made Miller's stomach churn. They reached a small hidden cave, almost completely covered by thick bushes. The opening was narrow, just wide enough for one person to squeeze through. Flashlights on, Miller ordered, his voice barely a whisper. Inside the cave was damp and cold, and the air was heavy with that strange, sweet smell. The beam of Miller's flashlight swept across the rough walls, revealing more of the strange symbols carved into the stone. In the center of the cave, a rough altar of the stone had been built, and on the altar was a single dusty shoe, Sarah's shoe. A chill went down Miller's spine. This was no ordinary disappearance. This was something dark, something ancient. He looked around, his light shaking slightly. Then he saw it, tucked into a small crack in the cave wall, another piece of paper. It was a note, scrawled in hurried, uneven letters. The creek calls, the sacrifice must be made for the secrets to be given. The one with the locket, the willow keeper. Miller felt a cold dread settle in his chest. The willow keeper? Martha? And the locket, the one they'd found, it wasn't just a clue, it was a connection. He understood now. Someone was doing something terrible using the old beliefs of the creek, and Martha had been trying to warn them. Sarah wasn't just gone, she had been taken. Just then a faint sound echoed from deeper within the cave, a soft watery drip, and then a low rhythmic chanting. It was too quiet to make out words, but it was there, a steady hum that vibrated through the rock. Miller motioned for his deputies to be quiet. They moved forward slowly, their flashlights cutting through the deep darkness. The chanting grew louder, more distinct. It sounded like a man's voice, deep and gravely, repeating words in a language Miller didn't know. They came to a small opening, revealing another, larger chamber. The air here was even colder, the sweet, earthy smell almost sickening, and there in the center of the chamber, illuminated by a single flickering lantern, was a man. He was old, gaunt, with wild, unkempt hair and eyes that truly seemed empty, just as Martha had described. He stood over a pool of dark, still water, chanting, his hands raised, and by his feet, tied and caged, was Sarah. A gasp escaped one of the deputies. The man turned his head slowly, his empty eyes looking on to Chief Miller. A twisted smile spread across his face, a smile of terrible knowledge. "You've come," he croaked, his voice raspy. "The creek has many secrets, Chief Miller, and it demands its due." Miller drew his weapon. "Release her," he demanded, his voice firm despite the fear clawing at his throat. The man simply laughed, a dry rustling sound. "Too late. The ritual is nearly complete. The willow keeper sought to stop me, but the creek desires its truth, and now you too will learn." As the man raised his hands higher, the water in the pool began to ripple. A low groan filled the chamber, coming from the depths of the earth itself. Miller knew he had only seconds. He lunged forward, tackling the man to the ground. The lantern crashed, plunging the chamber into the near darkness, broken only by the thin beams of the deputies' flashlights. A struggle ensued. The man was surprisingly strong, fueled by some dark purpose, but the deputies were many, and quickly they had him secured. One of them rushed to Sarah, untying her, helping her to her feet. She was pale, shaken, but alive. As they led the man out of the cave, back into the fading light of day, Chief Miller looked at the locket in his pocket, the silent witness. It had led them to the truth, to the dark secret hidden within Willow Creek, and as the sound of the creek flowed past them, no longer whispering, but just flowing, Miller knew Willow Creek would never truly be a quiet town again. The fear might lessen, but the memory of the empty eyes and the creek's dark demands would forever linger, a quiet warning in the heart of the once peaceful town.